How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 5000, and in this video, we're going to talk about the Atlantic hurricane season and determine if we will see Tropical Storm Danielle in the very near future. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current water vapor imagery throughout the entirety of the Atlantic. And we do have several disturbances we're at least keeping an eye on right now. We do have some, we are keeping track of this trough that's currently moving through the United States, because this same trough could create an area where Tropical Storm Danielle could develop off of, where this trough will create just enough instability to develop a low-level center to where potentially Tropical Storm Danielle could develop just off the southeast coast. But we're also taking a look at this disturbance, which at this point is unlikely to develop, mainly due to the fact that it's dealing with a lot of wind shear and it's only going to increase as time goes on. We are taking a look at this disturbance as well, as it continues to move eastward, where maybe it could have a chance of developing, especially as it approaches the Caribbean. So we're going to need to pay close attention to that. And we also have other disturbances coming off the African coast that could potentially develop into Tropical Storm Danielle. So if I were to show you guys the GFS model at this time, let's first take a look at the relative humidity in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. So you see that the reason why we aren't seeing a high probability of tropical cyclone development within the next, I'd say, 5 days is because of how much stable the air there is currently throughout the Atlantic. Currently, we're under a positive MJO pattern, which means that conditions are a little bit less favorable for a tropical cyclone to develop in the northern Atlantic, because there's so much stable air and there's just a large area where the air is sinking rather than rising. So as a result, we aren't seeing enough convection to really induce or enhance the chance of tropical cyclone formation. But I think that could change within the next 5 days, because if I were to continue to move forward, we do see that there's going to be an influx of moisture moving through the Caribbean. And taking a look back towards the southeast coast, look at how much moisture there is, and we do see low pressure systems develop just off of this trough that's going to move through the east coast and eventually out into the open Atlantic, where this cold front could create just enough instability and convection just off the southeast, where it will develop under tropical circumstances, which could allow it to become a tropical storm or potentially a subtropical storm, which is certainly a possibility that this does obtain some tropical characteristics, because it could move over the very warm Gulf Stream water to attain maybe some tropical characteristics where it develops a very small center of circulation to where it could be considered an independent tropical storm. Might not necessarily be tropical 100%, but I think a subtropical storm is certainly possible just off the southeast coast head into early next week, where we do see an influx of low pressure systems develop just off the southeast, where we do see the pressure drop to around 1,007 millibars, another low pressure system just behind it. And moving forward, we do see it strengthen a little bit just off the east coast. Now, the good news is that with these low pressure systems, they pretty much all move out to sea, but it could be potentially impactful for Bermuda. And even if this doesn't directly impact the southeast coast, you still need to pay attention to the possibility of heavy rain and a high rip current risk if we were to see Tropical Storm Danielle develop just off the southeast coast or just off the Carolinas. So this low pressure system will likely get some help from the amount of instability associated with this cold front. We do see very dry and stable air just on the back side of it, which should allow a little bit more convection than this low pressure system by itself would as a result of this instability. But it still has the possibility of obtaining tropical characteristics at this point. Right now, it seems like the chance that this develops into a tropical storm is low, but the possibility certainly exists and potentially could rise within the next couple of days if the computer models detect that this will develop primarily based on tropical based on tropical characteristics rather than extra tropical or based on baroclinic instability. So we're going to need to pay close attention to that within the next couple of days. However, taking a look back at the Caribbean, where this could potentially have a higher shot of developing, mainly due to the fact that it's going to be over very warm water, because with these low pressure systems, it's uncertain that it's gonna be able to develop over water that's above 80 degrees, and if it does, it's gonna have a very short time span over that 80-degree water to really strengthen into tropical storm. But in the southwestern Caribbean, that's pretty much no question that the sea surf temperatures are warmer than average. What really depends on whether the low pressure system develops or not is the amount of dry air, which you see that the GFS model at this point isn't expecting a large amount of dry air, as you see that there's a lot of convection going on, thunderstorm activity, and it's typical during the early part of the hurricane season to see tropical cyclones or tropical storms develop just off the Central American coast, because right around Central America, it's considered winter over there by how much it rains as a result of gyres moving through Central America. So we could certainly see a tropical storm develop off of a gyre that builds in Central America, which is typical to see during the early part of the hurricane season. At this point, the GFS model isn't expecting a low pressure system that's well defined enough to have the possibility of developing into a tropical storm or hurricane, but it's at least something to keep in mind when we see this much moisture move into the southwestern Caribbean. But another factor I think that will inhibit this moisture from really developing a small center circulation is the amount of wind shear, because if you're to take a look at the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we are going to see an upper level low that's going to pretty much meander over the Caribbean. So any low pressure system that attempts to move into the Caribbean will struggle a bit, because the upper level winds will be strong enough to really inhibit tropical storms from developing at this time, where we do see that right around the Central Caribbean, the upper level winds are moving from the west, which is pretty much completely against where the surface level winds are moving, which is of course directly from the east. So that creates a strongly sheared environment right around the Caribbean, and it's expected to continue even as this moisture moves into Central America, where this upper level low will continue to move westward and inhibit any sort of low pressure system from really organizing itself enough for a tropical storm to develop. So right now, the chances of course low, but we're gonna need to pay close attention to how this upper level low maneuvers over the next several days. And also another factor will depend on the land interaction, because of course this moisture will move relatively close to the Central American coast, and if the center of circulation or the low pressure system moves over land for a period long enough where it's very mountainous and there's a high amount of friction to disorganize the low pressure system, then we're definitely unlikely to see any sort of tropical storm develop in the southwestern Caribbean. However, there's still a possibility we're going to need to pay close attention to over the next several days for Tropical Storm Danielle. Right now, the National Hurricane Center isn't listing anything that has a high possibility of developing at this point, or any possibility of developing, but we have to keep in mind that the National Hurricane Center only forecasts the probability within a 5-day period. So it's possible that beyond the 5-day mark, we could see a low pressure system move into the Caribbean under a more favorable environment for Tropical Storm Danielle to develop. So it's only something we're going to need to pay close attention to over the next several days. Now, let me show you guys the Vorticity Map provided from the GFS model. So let's move forward. We do have this tropical wave, but like I said, there's going to be a moderate to highly sheared environment right around the Caribbean. So this tropical wave, I don't think will have much of a chance of developing. But moving into the more long-term future, we do see more vorticity come off of Africa, but it's very well in the long-term future to really give a good estimation on the probability of developing. So we're just going to need to stay tuned with that. Right now, again, like I said, we're under a positive MJO pattern, so the air is fairly stable for a high probability of tropical storms to develop over the next several days. But we're definitely gonna need to pay close attention to the cold front that's gonna move through the east coast, because we could see a low level center develop just off the southeast coast to where Tropical Storm Danielle will form. And of course, we're gonna need to pay close attention to the southwestern Caribbean thanks to the influx of moisture moving through. Now the European model is pretty much agreeing with the same thing. Right now, chance of Tropical Storm Danielle forming is low, but there's still that possibility. So here's the amount of dry air moving through, where you see that there's a high amount of dry air, but we could see the atmosphere begin to destabilize in the very long-term future. But I'll make sure to keep you guys updated if we do have any more shots of Tropical Storm Danielle developing. So taking a look at sea surface temperatures right now, we do see that for the next few low pressure systems to develop as the Tropical Storm Danielle off the southeast coast, it's going to need to develop in this small area, as you can see here, because if it moves any further eastward, then the sea surface temperatures will likely be too low for this to obtain tropical characteristics to be considered Tropical Storm Danielle, and pretty much not extra tropical cyclone or mid-latitude cyclone. So we're going to need to pay close attention to the position of this cold front as it moves through the southeast, because that will be key in determining if this next low pressure system or next few low pressure systems develop tropical characteristics to be considered Tropical Storm Danielle. So I'll keep you guys updated regarding that. But here's my forecast of the next few chances of where Tropical Storm Danielle will develop. So there's that possibility it could develop off the east coast, and this could happen as early as late this weekend into early next week, and we could see potential Tropical Storm Danielle form I'd say by next week, where we do see an influx of moisture. And if the wind shear does lighten down from what the GFS and the European model is stating, there's certainly that possibility we could see a tropical storm in the southwestern Caribbean by next week. And we're going to need to pay close attention to the tropical waves coming off of Africa as well. So I'll keep you guys updated if there's any more chances of tropical storm developing in the Atlantic. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content, and I hope you guys all have a great day.